Hi, I'm your host, Casey Johnson-Oxoy, and this is the Pleasurehood podcast, a podcast where we explore what it means to be a mother, a leader, and an all-around badass from a place of pleasure, empowerment, and turn-on. I am here to revolutionize how humans experience sex, pleasure, and motherhood by normalizing self-care, normalizing having desires, and normalizing mothers as sensual and sexual beings. Quick side note, you don't have to be a mother in order to listen to this podcast. Though I create my work with mothers in mind, this conversation is really for everyone. I truly believe that pleasure is one of many paths of healing, and I'm here to highlight how to walk that path, no matter who you are. It is my deepest desire that wherever you find yourself on this amazing journey we call life, you can experience your power, your turn on, and of course, orgasmic pleasure. This is the first podcast for Pleasurehood, and this is a welcome episode. So welcome to Pleasurehood. This is the prelude to the first official episode. And when I decided to create this podcast about pleasure, sex, and parenting, it felt like a far stretch, especially as a mother and a human who is living in a world that is filled with chaos and uncertainty right now. Between the pandemic, the environmental crisis, inflation, social injustice, constant human division, and who knows what else once this podcast is launched, I can't help but wonder, why did I say yes to bringing life into this world? How did I decide that adding an innocent human into the fray, into the dumpster fire we've created for ourselves, was a good idea? I honestly can't come up with a definitive answer, but the feeling that runs through my body when I think about my son is one that I am so grateful for experiencing. I am a mother. And with my husband, I created life. And together we chose to walk this path hand in hand and explore what it is like to have a piece of ourselves, a piece of our heart, walking outside of our bodies. This has been an exploration of love, of growth, expansion, and walking the edge of all my fears and realizing I have zero control over anything. It is a process of flowing through the life of death, rebirth, life cycle, and honoring whatever happens inside of this natural cycle of life. It is a journey into finding myself outside of motherhood and parenthood. And it is understanding that change is constant and surrender is the only path. I coined the word pleasurehood when I knew there was more to this mothering thing than burnout and self-sacrifice. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to paint a picture where pleasure makes all the worries go away and all the chaotic moments go away and causes you not to want to pull out your hair as a mother. No, I'm not here to paint a picture of perfection, because this journey is not anything but perfect. But when I decided that practicing pleasure was pretty much the only way I was going to survive all the fears that motherhood brought along with it, it was the belief that filling my own cup was going to enrich and enliven not only myself, but also my husband and my son, which I wholeheartedly believe. And I didn't want to give into the story that my life was over because I became a mother, and that I had to lose myself in an identity that was only a piece of who I was. I didn't want to lose my sense of self, my sensuality, my sexuality, and that if I wanted to only grow into my womanness and my humanness, that I was going to have to choose the path of pleasure to take me there. But not the performative kind, the kind of pleasure that would take me to the spa once a month and maybe dinner with friends every blue moon, and craving time for myself once my son started going to school. No, this was a pleasure that was right now, fully embodied. It was something I was and not something I did. But I don't want to paint the picture again that it's been easy, because it hasn't. It's a road that ebbs and flows. Sometimes I have my good days, my not so good days. I have my doubts. I self-sabotage. I still self-abandon. I fall into habitual behavior to get me through the day. I am not perfect, nor do I expect myself to be. This is a one step at a time type journey. There is no destination, because we are forever growing and evolving with the times, with our circumstances, with our life situations, with our moods, etc. It's not about perfectionism, as I mentioned before. It's about sustainability and creating balance from within. I love this quote by Carolyn Myss, and she says, "Inner balance is the core magnet to the flow of your life force." And that's what I desire to teach other parents and mothers and humans. It's about finding delicious, yummy, sensual balance inside yourself so that you can flow with the twists and turns of life, so that you can stand in your power. And this podcast is an exploration of what happens when we put pleasure first. When we allow ourselves to swim in the deep waters of feeling good in our bodies and in our skin. When we give ourselves permission to identify and name ourselves for ourselves and by ourselves. When we give ourselves space to be who we truly desire to be, instead of allowing others to dictate who we are. This is a reclamation of self. You get to be a mother and be sexy, sensual, erotic, and passionate. You get to choose your desires over your shoulds. You get to swim in the overflow of energy and give what is left to your family, friends, and work. I promise that the abundance of energy will not only transform your life, but also the life of those around you. There is an ethos that I live by, coach by, and teach by. A list of core beliefs and values that have supported myself and my clients on their own journey towards empowerment. I believe you can start where you are. It doesn't matter where you currently are in your life, how broken down you feel, or how broken you think you are. You don't have to have all the answers or feel fully ready. Just start where you are. You are not broken. You have all the pieces to be whole. It's about figuring out how these pieces fit back together, how they relate and integrate into your life. You are enough. Period. I'm going to say that one again. You are enough. Period. Okay? You can heal through pleasure. Healing doesn't have to be painful. A brilliant colleague of mine once wrote, and it has stuck with me ever since I read it, be a pleasure seeker and not a pain chaser. And it just hit me to my core, because it made me realize how often I actually chase down pain instead of seeking the pleasurable things in life. Because even though life, especially now, feels exquisitely painful sometimes, it is also equally exquisitely pleasurable and beautiful and amazing. I want to make it clear that what I share from you is coming through the lens of being a privileged Black cisgender woman who is in a heterosexual marital relationship with a white passing cisgender Turkish man. And I understand that everyone has a different relationship to motherhood or parenthood depending on their life circumstances and how they identify and how they move through the world or how they are unable to move through this world. I am constantly exploring how to bring several different voices and conversations to the table because I think it is so important to have different conversations and different point of views and different thought processes when it comes to parenting, mothering, and in harnessing life and bringing life into this world and what that looks like for different folks of different walks of life. I am constantly exploring how we can create opportunities for pleasure, vibrancy, support, connection in all birthing people's experiences. I do not claim to have all the answers. I want to make that super clear right now. And nor do I pretend that I always get it right. I am just in the process, like you, to see what happens when I use motherhood as a portal of becoming and allow pleasure to be the foundation of everything I do. And I don't get it right all the time, believe you me, especially as I find myself in new and different stages with my son. His approaching 2 years old has been really rough and has rocked me to my core because he takes so much energy from me and he demands so much of my time and my energy and he needs so much more. And so that in itself has just been an exploration of like, how can I find the pleasure in this moment? And sometimes I can't. And I show myself a lot of love, compassion, and grace. This is what this podcast is all about. You'll hear episodes about my motherhood journey and how pleasure has supported me along the way. And I'll also bring in other coaches, teachers, practitioners, facilitators who work in the realm of sex, love, and relationships and pleasure to share their experience living from a place of turn-on vibrancy and self-devotion. So even though, again, a lot of my work is centered around mothering and parenting, it won't always be, because I love to bring fresh perspectives from everyone, whether they have a child or they're a caregiver or not. It is my deepest intention to bring you the dopest, the most amazing, the most supportive information, tools, skills your way. And so you will be hearing from a plethora of individuals that I just absolutely love, adore, respect, know deeply, or just getting to know. And I will bring all of the perspectives, as many as I possibly can, to you. So you can create your own path and you can come up with your own answers of what pleasurable living, pleasurable parenting, pleasurable mothering looks like, feels like for you. So I do want to say I honestly believe there is a better way to mother and parent in a world that is ever changing for the better. And I hope this little piece of the internet will support anyone who desires to be a part of that conversation. So with that, thank you so much for listening to the first episode, our prelude episode of Pleasurehood. the podcast. And I hope this finds you well. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and I look forward to taking this journey with you one step at a time. And I invite you to tune in each week. There will be a new episode, if not each week, by every other week. I haven't figured out exactly what this is going to look like or feel like, but I promise you it's going to be amazing. If you haven't yet, I invite you to follow me on Instagram at casey.aksoy. That is CASEY.AKSOY. And you can read more of my musings on Medium. You can find me there under Casey Aksoy. And if you're on Apple Podcasts user, you can support the podcast by leaving a review. And I would truly appreciate to hear from you. And I am currently running a private Facebook group. If you're looking for support around how to powerfully ask for what you need, want, and desire, I talk about this and so much more in the private Facebook community, Wild, Sexy, Free. And in that community, we explore what it looks like to mother, parent from a space of power, pleasure, and desire. This is your official invitation, and you can find all the info via the link in my bio on Instagram. And if you are ready to take a deeper dive into your own pleasure, you can sign up for the wait list of From Burnout to Radiant. It's a self-study course, and I'll be offering that in a week. And if you are ready to explore motherhood from a place of vibrancy, energy, and deep connection to your mind, body, and soul, this self-study course is for you. Again, you can go to my Instagram and you can find all the juicy information and details in my bio. All right, my love, until next time, stay wild, sexy, and free. I look forward to connecting with you some more.